Today we're going to talk about how to do a grid test plan on the PCTel IB Flex scanner. First, let's start off by finding our device. So we will click the device list and then detect device. This all assumes that you have your scanner set up next to your unit, plugged in and ready to go. So right now it has detected our scanner that we have, and then we'll push the scanner that it found, and now it's going to connect to it over the Bluetooth. It's going to ask if you want a pair. You say yes, and that connects. And then we're into the scanner now. We're going to do a grid test plan based on a channel list that we already have preloaded. So this video is assuming that you already know how to what frequencies and bands and whatnot that you want to scan. There'll be another video on how to set all that up. That's pretty in-depth subject just alone. But so this video is already assuming that you already have built up a workspace with all of your channels already, and now you're ready to go into the field and scan them. So as I was saying, you can decide through settings which channel plane you want to have in your default, and that's all I'm doing right here is pressing on this little M, and it's supposed to be shows your workspace. You can drill down and look for if you have more workspaces saved. You can go look at those, but right now I'm just going to go ahead and keep rolling with the default workspace that I have set up for our plan right now. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that we tell it that since today we're going to do an indoor grid test, we want to go ahead and select indoor grid, which is different than some of the other tests up here. So we definitely want the grid because this will set up the grid over the floor pattern for us, the floor plan. And since, like I said, we already know our plan and everything, we can just accept all the defaults here because that's all came preloaded in with our workspace that we had set up initially prior to this video. And then it wants to bring in your a floor plan. So you can load. So what you want to do here is load and register an image file, because when it says register, what it's talking about is you can set scale on it. So when you set up your grids, it will actually give you the square feet of the grid that you have, the cells in the grid, I should say. So let's go ahead and register, and this is going to give us a list of available image files that we have. And so this assumes that you've already loaded up the image files and so uploaded them to the tablet over here by taking the JPEG images of the maps that you want to walk and putting them into the folder named indoor maps, and that's on your tablet. So it's the tablet. So it starts at Galaxy tablet, and then it goes to tablet folder, and then Seahawk Touch, and then indoor maps. And that's where you want to put those JPEG images. So once you've got those in there, and then you want to go ahead and grab one, and usually like to. And so now we just want to pick a floor to start on, and we're going to be dealing with the food science building, and I always just start in the basement, work my way up when doing planning. So we'll grab the food science basement, and then we want to definitely do register with a ruler. And then this is going to allow you to put a line on the like this. And then from here, we can make it nice and small like this. And basically what we're trying to do is set a scale. And the scale is gonna be having to do. Best thing you can do is try to grab a like a 3 foot for a doorway. That seems to work fine. So about like that. That's about 3 feet if you compare it to a doorway. So and then just tap on it and set scale and just say 3. And that will set our scale for our grid, and then just do next. And then what we want to do is name our report. So since we're in the food science building, best thing to name it food science. And then we'll just say hit OK. And here we go. So we have our image loaded in, and now we want to put in our grid. So we'll start by just clicking in the map area, and then that's going to add us, start giving us the opportunity to create a grid. Just as I was looking at it, in fact, let's do this. Let's look at it. So I would say we would probably, the best way to do this would be to take a measurement here on the west end, 1 in the middle, so that's 2 total measurements, and then 1 on the east end, so that's 3 total measurements that we've come up with. And that'll give us, for the purposes of doing the high level testing of the buildings that we're doing for this project, that'll give us 3 data points and for this section, and that will be fine for what we're doing. And then we can create another grid and then see if we can't get a measurement somewhere around this area. So let's create our first grid first. And so we'll just click inside the map, and it gives us opportunity. So we said we wanted 3 measurements essentially in a straight line. So we'll just make this 3. So it'll give us a grid with 3 squares in it. And what I like to do is change this color to magenta or something other than black, so it will stick out a little bit. And then for the purposes of this video, maybe we can make this a little thicker too, so it's easier to see. Then we hit OK, and there's our grid. You see it's got the magenta color and a little thicker lines. That helps us so we can see it. And then we just kind of get it where we want it to be and then stretch it. Like that. Looks like it's like a little laggy because I'm using the mirroring software. But anyways, we got there and we built up our grid, and then we want to do another grid for this area right here. So we'll push the plus sign once again, push in, and then I think we can handle that area with just a 1 square. So we'll do this, and let's make this a contrasting color of the magenta. So let's pick blue so we can tell our squares apart, and make that a little bigger, a little thicker. Work. Okay, there we go. Okay, so here's grid number 2. Zoom in a little bit and build our grid. Sometimes I want to rotate when you get those. It's kind of a pain, but there. So there's our second grid. So you can see it even identifies it. So it says grid 1 and grid 2. So now we have our 2 grids, and then let's go ahead and put a little mark where we assume we're going to take our measurements. We're not out in the field yet, but we can kind of get a pretty good idea of what we want to do. So what we'll do is click this square with the arrows next to it, and then grab our shape, and then we can pull it to where. So I would say I'd like it to be somewhere in that area, and then for this one, as dead center as possible would be good. And then this one, spread them out a little bit. So that takes care of grid number 1. And then we'll take grid number 2. Looks like it came out right about where I would want to take the measurement, so that worked out well. So from here, we pretty well built up our grid pattern. What we should do, or another point of interest here is bring this up. We can see some statistics about our grid, and what we really wanted to concentrate on was the area size, and we can see that these are relatively close together, so that's good. We want to keep our so this was grid number 1, so that'd be the top, or the magenta one, and it's square footage of each one of these grids is 5,000 feet. And if we look at the grid 2, which is the blue one, we're 48, almost 49,000. So we're pretty darn close in our square sizes. So that'll give us the most accurate information. So next thing to do is we have 3 more floors to build up. So we'll click on up here at the top and save the changes. Yes. And now it's going to say we want to add another floor. So add. And then we're going to load an image file. So this kind of goes back to where we started at the beginning. And this time we'll grab floor number 1, since that's the order that we're working up. So now that we have that, and once again, we want to register with the ruler. And here's our floor plan again. Zoom in a little bit once again, and let's try to drop a line down here. And then, so what you do is you grab it and hold it, and once it turns red, that means you can drag it. So you just try to get something close to the size of that door. The size of the doorway typically is 3 feet. So once we got that, we can click in it, and it's going to say set scale, and we'll say 3. And enter, and that's done. And there we go. So now, instead of recreating all that grid stuff that we did, we can hit this little drop down arrow right here, and it'll ask you floor plan can be import the grid. So we'll say yeah, sure, and then we'll say okay, and accept the defaults, and there you go. So we've just imported all the information. So that went pretty fast. You can take a look. You may have to trim things up a little bit if the floors don't line up closely, but these ones look like they're pretty good. So we're done now with the first floor. But there's one thing we usually want to do on the first floor is we want to add a reference marker. So we'll hit reference and then put it out here. You gotta kind of know the building before you do this, where you might want to be taking a measurement, but I believe the loading dock is right around this area. It's gonna be somewhere over here. So okay, so now so basically this is a spot when we roll up onto the building, before we even go inside, we can take a reference measurement, and it will allow us to just have a baseline measurement for to compare the outside signal to the inside signal. So it's good to have that baseline in there. Okay, so that's all we need for that. So then we'll save that, and then we'll go ahead and add another floor and load and register an image. 2, register with the ruler, same as before. Try to find a doorway or something. Get your line. Now you gotta hold on, wait for it to turn red. And there we go. And that will drag in about like that. Set scale. 3. And then okay. And next. And here we go. And then we're just gonna go ahead and say yes to that. And we can go ahead and either on basement probably, because that's where we started. So that brings it in, accept the defaults. That's okay. And this I think was the one that we have to, yeah. So once we got on the second floor, um, the second grid changed a little bit inside. So just be aware of that. That sometimes it's not cookie cutter. You may run into situations like this. So you can just go ahead and edit, and then click on the grid, and you'll get your editing tools again. So just drag it in and try to make it as accurate as possible. I think the rest of the building stayed the same. Yeah. So there you go. So we're done with floor 2. So we have one more left to do, and that will be floor 3. So for the, I go ahead and add a floor and load and register an image. And grab 3, run a ruler, and then zoom in a little bit here. Find ourselves a door that you can grab real fast. How about this door? And then hold down until it turns red, and then just drag it and compare it. Looks pretty close there, 3 feet. Set scale, 3 feet. Okay, next. And then bring in the grid. Floor plan will be clear, yes. This time I'd say bring in the one from the second floor, because we did that little bit of modification, so that will bring it in pretty, yeah, so that brings it right in. If we would have brought the one in from the basement, then we would have had to modify that again. So, so now we're done. We've got all of our floors in, and basically we're ready to head out into the field and start doing our walk test. A little note of interest: if you click this door right here, like that, you can see. So what it's going to do is, if you don't modify this at all, it's going to go ahead and it's going to scan. The results is going to show you all the channels. So that's pretty confusing. So the best thing to do is pick something that is a fairly well-known signal on campus. So we tend to default quite often to the Verizon AWS, this one right here. We're primarily care mostly about Verizon anyways, and Verizon tends to have their phones, if possible, to default to the AWS. This is the 2100 gig or megahertz channel, and this is the channel 66786. So that's a good one to choose. And so now when you do your testing, it's going to provide you with results. For what you see, it will log everything, but as you're walking, it will show you the results for just this one carrier, and so that's more of what we want. So now you go out into the field. You want to first save the work that you've done, and what's nice here is this so now that you've done your work, presumably at your desk or someplace other than, a lot of times this is a lot easier to do in a more comfortable location than in a hallway before you set up for the walk. So usually, so you can exit and come back. So let's say you've closed up your device. Now you drove to the job site, and you're back up, and you're ready to do the test now. So what you can do is just come to the test list, like this, and go to indoor test plan. Sorry, indoor grid test, and we will see that we have find the one that we did, and that was this one right here. Yep. So I had another one from the other day. So we'll just pick food science and then resume, and it's gonna ask you to pick the scanner again. Not sure why it asked that, but here we go. So this is basically where we left off, when we left off on the third floor, but probably we'll start on the basement floor, but that's no problem. So we'll just say that, and then okay. So now it's showing us the basement floor plan. So let's say that now we're in the building, we've walked downstairs, and we're standing in this area right here, probably. Let's say we're in the west area of the basement. So to get started, we push in. Okay, so we push on the, so basically we have to tell the software where we're at, and so we select the little circle. And so basically now it's cocked and ready to go. So the only thing we need to do now is push the little Wi-Fi emblem here, or icon. And so once we do that, it's starting to gather data. And you see it populating. And as soon as it says add to report, and you move on. That's you're done with that square. It's grabbed its data. As you can see here, it did grab some. Let's see, it grabbed the. So apparently, when we go to the site, we actually have to change this. I didn't know that. So we have to tell it once again. I know we told it earlier, but apparently it didn't save that. So now we're telling it to look at this AWS, and as you can see, the signal, and now it's showing us the statistics for the Verizon channel. And we could just as well, I mean, so for the next one, if we cared, if maybe we wanted to look more at our P25 system, which would probably show the best results, so we can just grab that, and as you can see, it gives us the results for that. So it's logged everything, as you can see in this data, but as you're walking, sometimes it's nice to get a good visual verification of something that's actually working fairly well. So that was the idea behind selecting just one channel instead of looking at them all, because invariably if you're looking at them all, one of them's going to be bad, so they're always going to be red, and it's not going to make as much sense. So let's say we walk to the next square, so all we have to do is select that. And that basically we're telling the software we're here and ready to go. And then we just push the icon and wait a few moments. It's, as you can see here, it's bringing in the information. And this gives you a chance to kind of take a quick look at all the information that it's bringing in. As you can see, without much surprise, the PCS channels are coming in really good, and depending on your locations, you can see a lot of these channels aren't coming in too well. It just depends on where you're doing your testing. Looks like this 700 is coming in pretty good, and then you just add it to the report, and you just continue that through your walk till you finish the whole building. So you can just walk around, select all your icons. Since I'm not actually walking at this second, all the results are going to be pretty much the same, but for the sake of completeness, let's finish this one up. Let's do this one, select the icon, let it bring in the last bit of data. So this is basically simulating that we walk the whole floor, and now we're pretty much done with that floor. If you wanted to move on, you would just select the floor you're going to, and then select it, and you would do the same thing. I cancel out that for a second here. This gives you a chance to also take a peek at your data. Not too surprisingly, based on the spot where I'm at right now testing, things didn't go too well in terms of the results. And so this gives you basically it gives you a chance to verify that you've gathered data, and that's all we're doing right here. It's just kind of verifying that we have grabbed data. You can generate a report, and that's another good way to make sure that you have the data before you leave the building. And so once that report's done, you can actually browse to the see if we can do this here to the report by going to and select the internal storage, and then we're on the Seahawk Touch, and then you go through here, indoor grid report, and there we go. So we find our building right here. A little confusing, so it might be a good idea to go ahead and name it so we know what it is, so we can do that right in the tablet software. I'd keep most of the file stuff the same, but just go ahead and give the building something that resolves, something that makes sense. So we'll see food signs. There you go. So now it's a little easier to find. So it created a kind of a high-level report. So if we click it, it will open it up and give us the information that what it found. And basically, it's just a summary of what we had already seen. But one good thing is that it is actually giving us confirmation. So like this right here is actually showing us that we did get data, and it's all there and available. So that's a good thing. So we know we can leave the testing site with confidence, knowing that we have the information that we need. So lastly, what we want to do is get that information off of the tablet and onto the shared drive. So it can go to engineering, and the statistics can be gathered from it into the master report. So here we are. We're browsing into the to file. So we have this side we're looking at the Samsung tablet, and so we're in the indoor grid report folder, and here's the file that we created. To see how we renamed it so we can quickly know which one it is. And then what we want to do is send this over to our shared drive, and so this is basically on our network planning share. So if we look at the where it's at in SharePoint, it might make a little bit more sense. But this is ultimately where you're shooting for. So you're going to want to pull the file off of the tablet and then upload it to choose the campus cellular survey folder. Open that up, and then I've created a folder called RF survey. So just grab that, and then find the folder for the building which will already been there that I've created, and then go ahead and just put it in this folder, and that'll be it. That should cover everything. Thank you.